So we're going to start at the beginning of the Parsha. You have it there? Yes. Chapter 13, B'shalach. And as Reb Steinsaltz points out, this story with the Meraglim, the spies, is continuing to this very day, in the sense that there's still a lot of Jews outside of Israel that are saying, why do we have to go to Israel? You know?
You encountered that in your trips?
No, I'm just saying, no, it's not that I encountered it. It's just that, like, we have our yeshivas, we have our, we have this, we have that, it's comfortable, and Reb Shlomo points out, like, that when you're a chutzlaretz, when you're outside Israel, you don't have to deal with the messy problems of life. Like, you don't have to deal with the sewage. Like, Jews can go and get good jobs, and they don't have to deal with being policemen or firemen or things like that, And here you come to Israel, you got to have a police force, you got to have an army, you got to have firemen, you got to have people who clean the gutters, you got to have people who clean the streets. So, so when the spies say Eretz Ocheret Yoshvea, that the land consumes its inhabitants, it's a definite possibility. It's a definite possibility that you get involved with the physicality of the land, that you're going to get stuck in the physicality, right? I mean, even take anyone. I'm not talking about Barak. Barak is always up there in heaven. No matter what he's doing, playing guitar, cooking, or at work, he's always like Baruch Hashem. But I talk about myself. Like, by the end of the day, if I were to sit down, if I would keep a little stopwatch with me, and every time I think about my neshama, and I would click on it, and when I don't, I stop it. By the end of the day, how many minutes do you think actually, really paid attention to my neshama? It's I never did it. It's embarrassing, but okay. So you'll see, when you learn the parsha, you'll see that that at one point Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, "Step aside, I'll wipe out these people, and I'll make a new strain of people from you that will be a much more spiritual people, etc., etc." Moshe Rabbeinu says, basically, no, thank you. If you wanted angels, you didn't have to create us. You created us. It comes with dangers. It comes with the possibility of having ups and also downs. But that's the way it is. This is what you created, right? Same thing is with, a person, like, it was much more comfortable when you were in your mother's womb. You had a good temperature, you could be swimming the whole time, you were fed, right? And now you have to go, you get out of there. Hashem says, give up, and also not only that, but you were learning Torah with an angel, right? In your mother's womb, we learned Torah with an angel. So and Hashem says, give all that up, get out of there, go into the land, right? Okay, so if we start reading the Parsha, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor, Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Shlach lecha anashim, send for yourself people v'yaturu, and let them scout at Eretz Canaan, the land of Canaan, Asher ani noten lebnei Yisrael, which I'm giving to the children of Israel. Ish echad lashavet, one person per tribe. L'matei avotav, one person per tribe. Tishlachu, that's whom you should send. Kol nasi bahem, every prince amongst them. So once I was teaching this parsha in grade 5 back in Montreal, and I came into the class and I said, I need some volunteers. I need some spies. I want you to go and sneak into the principal's office and get me a certain file. So everybody put up their hand. I said, okay, but you realize if you get caught, we're going to deny that we sent you. You're going to be kicked out of school and this and that and so on. So 90% of the class put their hands down. And then I got into a discussion with them, what would make a good spy, you know? And nobody said, oh, a holy religious person, right? Because over here, who gets chosen is the Nisiim, it's the princes of the tribes, understand? So obviously, we're not dealing with people, Moshe Rabbeinu was not looking for graduates from the James Bond School of Spying, you know? Michael, if you don't mind, sit over here, it'd be easier for me to, instead of, you know, going back and forth. You can stay where you are, it's okay, but it's just here you go, so it's a little bit better. Thank you. So he picks the Nisiim. Yeah, you might want to use that because we're going to look in Rashi for a second. So you might want to use this Chumash because it has Rashi also, the one that he just passed to you. Okay? So he picks the Nisiim, and Rashi points out that these people were tzaddikim. They were holy people. So then the obvious question is, well, wait a minute, why are you sending them? What's the point of this mission? Okay, we'll see that soon. But the first thing that Rashi stops on is, you have Rashi there, you see it, yeah? So the first Rashi, Shlach lecha anashim, so the first thing that's bothering Rashi is, Lama nismacha parshat meraglim leparshat Miriam. Why is the parsha of the spies right next to the parsha? It follows immediately after the parsha of Miriam, that's at the end of last week's parsha, right? Miriam, you're familiar with that? Miriam spoke. If you have a question, you're allowed to ask, you know? So Miriam spoke Lashon Hara, and it wasn't really Lashon Hara, but she was telling it was the truth, right? All these other people became prophets, and she overheard Tzipporah say, oh yeah, I feel sorry for their wives. And that's when she found out that Moshe Rabbeinu had separated from his wife or divorced his wife. Why? Because Hashem had told him, you stay here with me, you know, and Vatapo Amodi Madi. And Miriam says to Aaron, we're prophets, and we were never told that we can't be married with our husbands or wives. Anyway, so what it ended up was that she got sarat, she got leprosy, and she was isolated for 7 days outside the camp, and nobody was able to travel for those 7 days. So everybody knew what happened, and in fact, there's a pasuk in the Torah, you know, at the end of the Shachris prayer, it says that we have a list of 6 things that we should remember all the time, and one of them is, remember what Hashem did to Miriam when we left Egypt, right? And the point of remembering that is to remember not to talk Lashon Hara, not to talk badly about people, and even though you're telling the truth, right? Now, and even to say something that's the truth and it's not necessarily bad, talking about what other people are doing usually will lead to problems. It will usually lead to problems, you know. Anyway, so they saw what happened to Miriam. And now they were going on the mission into scouting Eretz Yisrael. So Rashi says that the fish of Aktal is Kediba. They saw that Miriam was punished because of what they're talking about, what their discussion, what it led to, and she got punished. So here these spies, these scouts, right? She spoke against her brother. V'shayim halalu, and these wicked people, wa'u v'lo lakhu musar, and they saw what happened to Miriam, and they didn't take a lesson from her. Right? So it's interesting. So what is Rashi actually saying? What Rashi seems to be saying is that they should have taken a lesson and they didn't, right? So what's Rashi saying? Because that's why
But they shouldn't have spoken the Shana about their son.
well that they shouldn't have done anyway. What are we getting from the juxtaposition? So I think what Rashi is trying to teach us is that when you're looking at what's happening in your life, it's worthwhile seeing how one event relates with another event. Understand? Like sometimes you're on your way to your office or to your work or whatever it is, and you meet somebody along the way, or you see something happening along the way, and then you just sort of like, usually you just ignore it and you go after your job and so on and so on. But sometimes, you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to what, like for example, sometimes you're walking to shul in the morning and you see children who are going to school and they're happy and so on. So, what's that got to do with you going to shul? It's like a message. Make sure that you're praying with joy, right? Or sometimes you see a kid crying. Like think about, maybe there's some things I should cry about too. I'm sure there are. Yesterday we were learning a topic in the yeshiva, and then I got a call from a person from the States, and the topic that we learned about was like totally relevant to that phone call.
So you were ready for the phone call.
I was being tested. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time.
It happens to everybody. We just we don't always pay attention to it, right?
Yeah, it's our awareness.
Yeah, it's about being conscious. Okay. Now the next Rashi, right after where we stopped, Shlach lecha. So what's bothering Rashi over here is, why do we have the word lecha? Right? Why do we have the word lecha? If I want to say shlach, it means I want to say send, you say shlach. Right? So we have lech lecha also, right? So over there Rashi also stops and makes a comment to say what exactly, why does it say lech lecha? So over there Rashi explains that Hashem is saying to Abraham that lech lecha is for your benefit. Lech lecha. Some actually interpret over here that shlach lecha is also in a certain sense for Moshe Rabbeinu's benefit, but that's not how Rashi is explaining it. So says Rashi, Lidatcha. What does shlach lecha mean? Lidatcha. You have Rashi? Yeah?
Yeah.
According to your opinion. In other words, you decide.
So if it didn't have lecha, it would be a command.
If it wouldn't have lecha, it would just say shlach, it would be a command. Right? Ani eini mitzaveh lecha. Hashem is saying to Moshe, I'm not commanding you to send them. Im tirtzeh shlach. If you want, send. Right? So so Rashi is explaining what's the background to this. So Rashi says, Lefi sheba'u Yisrael v'amaru, because the children of Israel came. And they said to Moshe, Nishtecha anashim lefanenu, let's send spies ahead of us, Kema shenemar, as it says in Dvarim, where Moshe Rabbeinu repeats the whole story of the spies. All you holy people on Facebook, thanks for tuning in. So, you said let's send spies. Moshe Rabbeinu was telling over the story of the Meraglim in the first chapter of Dvarim. And over there, he starts the story with saying, "V'tikhavun elai kulchem," you all approached me. In other words, the idea to send the spies or the scouts, whichever translation you want to use. Well, really, it's more appropriate at this point to say scouts. That this idea came from the people. In other words, it didn't start with Hashem saying to Moshe, "Shlach lecha." The people came to Moshe and they said, "We want to send a team of scouts ahead to check things out before we enter into the land. We want to know, like, where's the highway, where are the paths, where there's water, where there's, where you got to know these things, right? You don't just go somewhere that you've never seen or been to unless you have no choice, right? So Moshe nimlach b'shchina, so Moshe Rabbeinu talked it over with God. So so Hashem said to Moshe, Ani amarti lehem shehi tova. I told them that this land is a good land. Shneimar, as it says in Shmot, Aleh etchem me'oni Mitzrayim, I'm going to take you out of the poverty of Egypt. In other words, really, they shouldn't have wanted to send anybody. Yeah, you with me still? You have the place? Yeah? Good. If you lose it, tell me. So I told them that I'm taking them to a good land, right? So then what do they need to go and see it for? So Chayehem, I swear by their lives, Shani noten lahem makom litot. I'm giving them place to make a mistake. B'divrei hamaraglim. With the words of the spies, I'm giving them the opportunity to make a mistake, Leman lo yirashuha, so that this generation will not inherit the land. Sounds pretty harsh, right?
Mm.
Okay, so the
Why does it say the bear and then
Lemor means to tell somebody else.
Shem spoke to Moshe,
Lemor,
saying
to tell the people
that the people should decide?
Well, no,
Moshe should decide.
No, right. That's from Shlach Lecha. But Lemor is with the rest of it. Lemor, in other words, Hashem said, in other words, send the spies, one person per tribe, etc., etc. In other words, it's pass on the command. Okay, so the Rebbe asks a question, the Lubavitch Rebbe. First of all, he says it's pretty, it's something to think about. Until now, everything that we've seen with Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah was that Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu what to do, what to teach us, what to say to us, and Moshe Rabbeinu was never asked to make any decisions, right? Hashem never said, "Here, I'm not telling you what to do, but you decide." It's and here, all of a sudden, Hashem is saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, you decide. And secondly, why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu sort of like the way Rashi spells it out is that Hashem is indicating to Moshe Rabbeinu, I told them that it's a good land, right? So really they should be sending the spies. And they want to send the spies. I'm going to give them the opportunity to make a mistake because these people apparently don't deserve to inherit the land. Now, so the question is, didn't Moshe Rabbeinu understand that Hashem wasn't so pleased about this? Right? The fact that, didn't he understand that if Hashem would have wanted us to send spies, Hashem would have said, send spies, right? So didn't he understand that Hashem wasn't really so into it?
A trick question?
Huh?
It was a trick question. He didn't really want to send spies, but he said send spies if you really want.
Yeah, that's what, in other words,
So what's the point of that?
So why did Moshe Rabbeinu send them?
Because the people want it.
So, but he understood that Hashem didn't want. So Rashi actually answers that question in Devarim, where Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Vayitav be'inai hadavar." I agreed. I thought it was a good idea. So Rashi explains that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't really think it was a good idea, but he gives an example as follows. Like, did you ever see this guy when he was going to buy a donkey? He says to the seller, so how good is the donkey? How many pounds can it carry? Right? How many kilos? And the guy says to you, oh, this donkey can carry 200 kilos easily. And you say, well, can I try it? And the seller says, yes, of course. And then he says, is this donkey good climbing hills? And the seller says, yeah, very good. And you say, can I try it out? And he says, of course you can try it out. And is this donkey obedient? And the seller says, very obedient. Can I test him out? And he says, yeah, absolutely, right? I'm using an example with a donkey, but back in a century ago, the example was we could reduce cars. Right? Come on, guys, wake up. Okay? And so, like, you go buy a used car or you go buy a car, right? Can I test drive it? So if the guy says, well, don't go over 30 miles an hour, it's like, you're not going to buy the car so fast, right? And make sure you stop the car at least, like, half a mile before the stop sign, Okay? But if the guy says, oh, you can do this and you can do this, and you say, can I test it? Can I test it? Then you're gonna believe that it must be good. So when the people said, can we do this? Can we go check it out? Can we go check it out? Moshe Rabbeinu says, yes, of course you can go check it out. In other words, it's not that he wants them to go and check out the land, but he wants them to have the confidence. He wants them, because if he would have said no, then there would be people that would say, oh, well, he's hiding something, right? Okay. So, so the question, so now we understand why Moshe Rabbeinu agreed, but why, but still, he knew that Hashem didn't want it. I mean, not that he knew for sure, but, and the question really is, did Hashem really not want it? If Hashem really did not want us to send spies, why didn't Hashem say no? Like, it's sort of like you were saying, like a trick question, why would Hashem give us an opportunity to make such a big mistake? Okay, maybe I won't answer that question right now, but so
just because the land is good doesn't mean you shouldn't send spies. So it might
it's not just that the land is good. Hashem told you it's good.
But still, what's the
Okay.
connection between good and the armies that are protecting?
Okay, you're making a good point. You will see. So what did Rashi say? Rashi said, "Shlach lecha." What's the key word? Lida'atcha. Right? Lida'at. That is intelligence, consciousness, and so on. So the question is then, what did Hashem want? Right? If he's saying Lida'atcha, that means that Hashem is implying that he wants us to use our intelligence in what's going to be happening. So the Rebbe explains like this. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. Okay, but before that, he says, what's the whole point of going into Israel? The whole point was to transform Canaan into Eretz Yisrael, right? The whole point was that that this land is a holy land, and that we have to bring out and manifest the holiness of Eretz Yisrael. That's in general the point of the creation of the world, right? The Zohar says, why did Hashem create the world? Because he wanted to have a dwelling place in the lowest of our worlds. This is the lowest of our worlds. There's no sub-basements to this. Okay? And what does that mean? He wanted us to transform this world so that it eventually, instead of it being a place of concealment, where God is so concealed and hidden, we should bring it out that people say, there's godliness here, right? There's godliness here, right? In other words, we should live our lives in such a way that we're inviting Hashem to be with us, to be present, and be here. Right? We live here, and we need to invite Hashem to be here with us, right? So you're eating. Everybody eats, but you make a bracha, right? You work for a living. Everybody has to do that. But you're giving some money to tzedakah, right? Okay. This is true in general for the whole world, and particularly for Eretz Yisrael. And that's why we have all these mitzvot that are related to the agriculture of the land, and mitzvot hakviyat ba'aretz, and bichlal, all the Torah and all the mitzvot. It's about every part of life. There's a mitzvah that relates to every aspect of life, and the point is to take this world, which is a physical, mundane world, and turn it into a dwelling place for Hashem. Right? Now, how do you do that? So there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, chapter 2, Mishnah 4. It says over here in the footnote. The Mishnah says, there's one line to Hashem, just to make it accurate. The Mishnah says, Hu haya omer. That's Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel used to say, Asay retzono kirsoncha. Make his will like your will. Kidei she'aseh retzoncha kirsono, so that your will should be like his will. But then he says, Batel retzoncha, nullify your will, mipnei retzono, for his will. Kidei she'vatel retzon acherim mipnei retzonecha, so that he should nullify the will of others for you, for the sake of your will. Right? So the Rebbe explains that these are two foundation points in serving Hashem. Okay, it's just there's an interesting thing right there. So the Rebbe explains like this. There's one aspect in serving Hashem, which is we have to nullify our will for the will of God. Okay? Never mind what I want, what does Hashem want? Right? That's bittul. Nullify your own personal will. Maybe I want to, do this and this with my money, and the Torah says, well, you can do this and this, but you also have to give a certain amount to tzedakah. Maybe I want to, spend more time on vacation. But the Torah says, wait a minute, there's all other things that need to be done, right? Whatever it is, the human condition is such that sometimes you want one thing, but it's not what Hashem wants. So I say Ritzoncha, make Batel Ritzoncha mipnei Ritzono, nullify your will for His will. You see, in other words, what Hashem wants is what's most important, right? That's one foundation point in serving Hashem. The other foundation point is to make your will, to make an effort that what you want is what Hashem wants. In other words, not just that I'm doing it because I want something else, but God told me to do this, so I'm going to give up on what I want, but also to get to a level where what you want is what Hashem wants, right? Like for example, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they're known as the chariots of God, right? And the Gemara says that they kept the entire Torah even before it was given. How did they know what to do? Because they were so given over to Hashem that it was already just natural for them to do all the mitzvahs of the Torah, even without being told, right? But when you're really connected with somebody, they don't have to tell you what they want, And so when you, it's like when you, Rabbi Levine, there's a street over here called Rabbi Levine. There's a story that when he went with his wife to the doctor, and the doctor said, "What's wrong?" And he says, "My wife's foot is hurting me. It's hurting us." Right? He physically felt her pain. In other words, when you're really connected with somebody, there's the story.
In tune.
That in tune. The story with the Berditchever that I think the Berditchever said that his biggest lesson in loving your fellow Jew he learned from two Russian drunkards. One day he saw two Russian drunkards, Boris and Vlad, and Boris says to Vlad, "Do you love me?" And he says, "Yes, I love you." And he says, "Well, if you love me, how come you don't know what I want? How come I always have to tell you what I want?" Right? But if you really love somebody, you're in tune with them, and I think Judy said you're in tune with them. Is she there? Oh, it's probably the farmer. Yeah. Then you're in tune with them, and you know what they want, you know what they need, right? It's like a mother and a child. The child doesn't even talk yet, but the mother knows what the child wants, right? So Hashem is saying, so this is the second aspect. This is aseh litzoncha k'ritzono. Make your will in tune with Hashem's will. In other words, don't just do it, don't just serve Hashem because, yes, I want this, but Hashem doesn't want it, so I'll give up my will for what Hashem wants. But get to the level where you make your will His will, and to be in tune with His will. That already requires much more deep work, right? It requires you to use your intelligence. It requires you to meditate on these things and so on, right? It's not just like, oh, I don't want to be shish kebab in hell, I don't want to just fry in hell. I want to learn Torah. I want to give tzedakah. I want to do it, not because of the reward. This is what Hashem wants, and this is what I want. Right? So when Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Shlach lecha, and Rashi says, L'da'atcha, Hashem is saying, yes, I want the spies, I want the scouts to go into Israel, and I want them to use their da'at, I want them to use their intelligence, because I want them to want to go into Israel. When you want something, you figure out how to get it, right? Right? If you want something, you know how to get it, right? Unless it's impossible for you to get it, you're going to get it. You're going to figure out, but I'm going to go this way or that way or that way or that way. I'm going to get there, right? So Hashem is saying, yeah, send these holy people. They should see how beautiful this land is. And they should see and use their intelligence as to how we're going to go in and how we're going to conquer this land. And then they should basically come back and tell the people, like, wow, let's go. It's great. Okay? So that's why Hashem says, Shlach lecha, l'da'atcha. Good. Don't do it just like you don't have a brain. You have a brain. Use your brain, and want it. Want it. Okay. Go in there and say, "Wow, this is awesome. We're going to be able to do so many great things over here," and want to achieve it. So the Rebbe says that the mistake, how did the mistake come about? The mistake of the spies came about because they went ahead to look at the land, and they understood that they have to use their intelligence about how are we going to conquer this land, how are we going to get in here, etc., etc. But they also went too far and thinking that maybe they should also evaluate whether we could or can't conquer the land. That Hashem didn't ask them to decide, right? Their job was go in, see where the people are strong, where they're weaker, where the roads are, where there's water, where there's food, etc., etc. Use your intelligence to develop a strategy for going into the land. But to have a question as to whether we can do it or whether we can't do it, that was not asked of them, right? We made the mistake thinking, well, we're already using our intelligence. If Hashem wants us to use our intelligence, maybe we should already use our intelligence and say, no, we're not going. Okay? So they overstepped the boundaries. Understand? So, in other words, a Jew has to, so the Rebbe ends up the Sikha where he says like this, what does it teach us about how we're supposed to serve Hashem? On the one hand, ein samchin ala nes. We don't rely on miracles. We don't rely on miracles, and you got to go make a living. You can't just sit down and say, I'm going to sit and study Torah all day and God will provide. You got to go and take a job. You got to go do this. You got to figure out how to live and where to live and how to build a house, etc., etc., etc. But when it comes to the mitzvot, in other words, and you're working to make a living, it's not for us to decide whether to keep Shabbos or not. You understand? That's clear. I have to keep Shabbos, right? Maybe I'm going, but for some people, it's very hard to make a living and keep Shabbos, right? But you have to keep Shabbos. You understand? That's not something how to make a living, what to do, figure out how to do all these things. Yes, I have to use my intelligence. That's I have to, I have to want to do all that to be able to do the Torah and the mitzvahs. But will I keep the Torah? Is it possible to keep the Torah in this world? There's no question about that. That's a given. Hashem said that we're here to keep Torah and mitzvahs. That's a fact of life. It's like when the Frierdiker Rebbe arrived in America, so he was greeted, when he was coming off the boat, he was greeted by some descendants of Hasidim from back. I can turn off you want to turn that off? Just cold. No, wrong button. Thank you. So some American Jews who were actually descendants of Hasidim from Russia that had already, the couple of them they already made it. They were success stories. And one of them said to the Frierdiker Rebbe, you're not going to be able to achieve in America what you achieved in Russia. America's different. And the Rebbe said, America's no different. America's no different. And you guys don't remember this for sure. You're born already in a later period. And I'm already also from a later period, but earlier than you. I can tell you, for a Jew, even in the 1950s and 60s, to have a job where they could keep Shabbos, and that was not an easy thing. In the 60s, it was already easier. But there still wasn't really a 2-day weekend yet until it wasn't widespread yet. And to have a job that you could keep Shabbos, very often it meant that you were going to have to give up on a lot of income. There's a story that I saw on one of those Chabad Shabbos pages, about this Israeli guy who had a jewelry store in Belgium. And when he comes into the Chabad house Shabbos morning, like mamish drunk, like terribly drunk. He was a Sephardi Jew, and I don't know if you realize, if you notice, but Sephardi Jews don't handle liquor as well as Ashkenazim. It's some kind of it's a genetic problem. Anyway, so why was he so drunk Shabbos morning? He normally didn't drink. And it was in December. So basically, his store was on a good shopping street, and there were some other Jewish store owners nearby. They also had jewelry stores. And he had started going to shiur a little bit, and he decided he's going to keep Shabbos. And he told his neighbors, he's going to be closing on Shabbos. So they said to him, you better take a picture of your money because that's the last you're going to see of it, Especially December. December is the month. Like a jewelry store could be open 12 months a year, and December could be like the income for 75% of the year, So he gets up Shabbos morning, and he's mamish, like he decided that he's going to keep the store closed, and he's like torn to pieces. open, close, open, close. And so what did he do? He had a bottle of whiskey or vodka in the house. He got himself good and shicker, good and drunk. And so he wouldn't even dare to open the store. And he threw the keys into the corner and he went up to the Chabad house, So that's Mesiras Nefesh, it's like a big part of his income. He was used to living with, right? He says, no, I'm keeping Shabbos. And my father, Olav Shalom, also had a lot of Mesiras Nefesh to keep Shabbos. And without making any judgments on anybody, a lot of Jews that came to America, they were told, America, you have to work on Shabbos, and they were never trying to get out of Europe to get away from the pogroms and so on. So they were ready to do anything to get out of that. And so for a few generations, on the Lower East Side, there were these shuls, and on Montreal also there was one that I remember that would have Shabbos morning davening at 6 o'clock in the morning, finish by 8, so that by 8:30 everybody could be in the factory or in the store working. These Yidden mamish, they still wanted to daven, and they did. And they would go to a very early morning minyan so that they could do the Shabbos morning davening, and then they went after to work. Their children didn't have the commitment for davening and for Torah and mitzvahs like their parents had, so they just went to work and didn't go davening at all, And then when the times became easier and you didn't have to work on Shabbos, they didn't have the background about keeping Shabbos, right? So thank God for all the Chabad houses and for all the Jewish education that is waking up again. Okay? So, Shlach lecha ledatcha. Yes, Hashem says, I don't want you just a robot. Robots, Hashem has plenty in heaven. They're called angels. They don't have any free choice. You're here in this world. You got brains. Use it. Use your brains. Use your, figure things out, etc., etc. Make your will like His will. Bring yourself to the point that I want what Hashem wants. I want that. Okay? And then, but at the same time, there's no question that we're going to accomplish that, because anytime that there's a conflict of interest, that if you find yourself wanting something different, but give up, nullify your will for His will. So these are two stages and it's not like, stage 1 and then stage 2, but there are two stages that are operant at the same time. On the one hand, Shem, what do you want? I want to do what you want. I'm ready to do what you want. At the same time, I want to want what you want. Okay. And so Hashem's saying, good, go send this group of scouts into Israel so that they should come back saying, we want it. We want to participate in getting this land. But stop at the right point. There was no question. They were not asked to give their opinion. Can we do it or can we not do it? And that's where the mistake came in. That they gave their opinion and they said, we won't be able to succeed. God forbid. Right? You know what a Kova temple is? You know what a Kova temple is?
Yeah.
Tell them.
It's the kibbutz hat. It's like a little thing.
It's like a round hat, you know. So
It doesn't
kibbutz hat.
protect you from the sun, but it's very
It protects you a little bit, you know. And Tembel means an idiot. So they call
It's a
that.
dunce cap.
It's like a dunce
Yeah,
cap.
a dunce cap.
Israeli dunce cap.
No, it's not really. It's
But
the
wear it with pride.
early settlers used to wear those hats, and the Jews of Europe, they called them a kova temple, a dunce cap. He said, "You're going to Israel. There's swamps. There's malaria. What are you going to do there? You crazy, right?" Even to this day, right? You know, I met one a Hasidic Rebbe actually. He told me that when he decided at one point in his life that he was taking his family and moving to Israel, he says even people who didn't know him would stop him in the street and they'd say, "What's wrong with you?"
I got asked that today. Just by somebody. I was getting from the municipal hall to get my order. The guys, why did you make Aliyah? What question is that?
Okay, so Shem wanted you to just think about it, but right, and yeah, because there's in Los Angeles and in New York, there's a lot of Israelis, you know. And by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this, but their children, they're having tremendous problems with their children because
I'm well aware of it.
Yeah.
As I've grown up, and I've also seen it here. Been in taxis where the driver will say, "Oh, you're American." I was in America for 20 years. My kids don't want to come back.
They don't want to come back, and they don't want to.
I can't stand it there anymore. I just have to leave.
They don't want to come back. They're not. They see the parents who left. At least they're still identified with Israel, right? Even though they didn't want to stay, but the kids don't have the connection. You know, I told you the story that I was at a wedding in Long Island or whatever it was, and it was one of these country clubs type of places, and they had 2 wedding halls, and so I happened to have arrived a little bit early, and I'm standing at the elevator, waiting for the elevator, and this guy comes in with jeans and a leather jacket. I told you the story, remember? Jeans and a leather jacket, and he goes like next to the elevator. There was this utility room where the photographers would put their stuff down, and the service people. And he goes in there, and I didn't know who he was, and I hear him talking, and it turns out that he's the rabbi for this other wedding in the other hall. The language, I'm telling you, I know a lot of words. There were words there that even I didn't know, okay? And I'm thinking man, what kind of a chuppah is he going to do, you know? Anyway, about an hour later, and then I see him come out with his robe. He put on his robe, over his jeans and so on. Now he looks like a rabbi, you know? Anyway, but an hour later, I had to go down to get something in the car, or put something in the car, whatever the case, and I come into the hall where the elevator is, and he's already standing by the elevator, and he's back in his leather jacket and in his jeans, and he's finished with his job for the night, you know. And thank God, as I entered into the hall, I remembered Reb Nachman's teaching of look at the good points in another person. So I focused on something positive in him. And immediately he turns around and looks at me and he says, Shalom Aleichem. Yeah? So it's mamish like focused on something positive in him, and he just turned around and Shalom Aleichem.
Do you remember what the positive thing was?
No, doesn't matter. And
It's an instant reaction.
yeah. and we get into the elevator, and he says, "Where are you from?" And I tell him, Yerushalayim. And he says, "Where do you think I'm from?" I said, "I have no idea." So I said, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm from Meir Sharim."
Wow.
From the Rebbe Arla Hasidim. My whole family, all my brothers and sisters, everybody is there.
Speaking in English?
He says 30 years ago he came to America to become like an assistant, chazan, rabbi, whatever it is. And he says, look at me now. I thought I came, I thought I was going to do something good for Yiddishkeit and so on. Look at me now. And then with tears in his eyes, he says, and my children, don't even ask me. Don't even ask me about my kids. So why did I even get into this? Understand it's Hashem wants us to come to Eretz Yisrael, not just because I'd rather live in Hollywood, or I'd rather live in Montreal, or I'd rather live in what's that famous place there in France, by the beach, or whatever it's called. Nice or whatever. Côte d'Azur, right? But I'd rather live in those places, but Hashem says, go to Israel, okay, I'm going. Hashem wants us to want to be here. And to want to be here, you got to use your intelligence and mamish say.
You have to see the good in the land.
You have to see the good in the land, and I think it's with the Lel of a Rebbe, it's the story that one of his Hasidim came to Israel for a visit, and then when he came back, the Rebbe asked him, what did you see? How was it? And he says, there was this problem, that problem, that problem. So the Lel of a Rebbe said, Yeshua and Caleb say, Tovah ha'aretz ma'od ma'od. The land is very, very good. Where else does it say ma'od ma'od? In Pirkei Avot it says ma'od ma'od hevei shval ruach. Be very, very humble. If you want to see how very, very good Israel is, you have to be very, very humble. Okay? So back in those days, the people who made Aliyah from Germany, from other places and so on, they came to clean out the swamps, etc., etc. The people back in Europe were saying, you're crazy, especially the ones in Germany, because because Germany wasn't having pogroms in those years, like they had in Poland and in Ukraine and so on. And they said, you're a temple, you're going and you're making Aliyah, you're going to suffer, it's going to be poverty, and it was. Right?
And they did suffer.
And they did suffer. And they did live in starvation. And they did have to fight disease and so on and so on, right? But thank God they mamish wanted to be here.
A lot of them left.
I don't know the statistics.
That's something like 70 or 80% went back eventually.
It's very possible.
But people died. I mean, we were in Zichron Yaakov a couple of summers ago.
Yeah.
They were talking about how people would die and then somebody would come and take their clothes. Like the clothes they didn't have their own clothes.
Right.
It was like,
Yeah.
And they just body after body, and people were suffering from diseases and starvation.
It was very, very.
And the Arabs were attacking them.
Right.
It was incredible self-sacrifice.
Right. To want to be here.
And coming from a civilized, educated place as well.
Right. So, if you, not this year, but Reb Lau has been like the keynote speaker every year in Auschwitz on March of the Living. And I don't remember the verse that he quoted, but you can see it on YouTube. It's not from this year's speech, but it's from last year's speech. He's an awesome. It's really worth listening to him. He's awesome. So he quotes the prophet, where he talks about two ways of Jews coming back to Israel. You saw it? One is you're coming back, you're coming here because you want to come. The other one is you're running away from the Goyim.
You have to come.
You have to come. Right?
And that's what we were talking about here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he said to the participants of March of the Living, you he says, you are in a very fortunate situation. You can come to Israel because you want to. So be wise and come because you want to. Don't wait until you're going to have to.
So not everybody's going to have to. At least right now.
We're not talking prophecy. No.
Because it's on clouds or on dove's wings, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. There's
The clouds, I think, are the people that have to come.
right, the
because
dark
they're
clouds,
running
the dark clouds that came.
She was a Holocaust survivor,
Right.
right?
And dove's wings is like, that they want to. Thank you, very good. So, we should be blessed to have the humility to be able to see how good it is here. How good it is here. And we should have the strength to say that I really want to be here, Hashem. Make it, help it be successful. I'll do whatever I can. But please, Hashem, bless us with success, that it should work out well, both begashmius and beruchnius, physically and spiritually. It should all work out.
Amen.
Better than you're even dreaming.
It was the birthday group at my note a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how long ago it was. You were speaking, and I was sitting next to this guy on the bench, and he said to me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Miami." He said, "Everybody here speaks English?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where's the rabbi from?" I said, "He's from Montreal, and the other rabbi is from Australia, and that guy's from Manchester, and that guy's from New York." He said, "What are you all doing here?"
Who asked you this?
This was a birthright student. So I said to him, "Where else are we supposed to be?" He didn't have an answer. He was just like in shock. He said, "I can't believe all of you guys from different places, you all moved here." I said, "Yeah, this is where we're supposed to be. We were lucky. We're the fortunate ones."
We were brought here.
Yom Kippur Echad Echad.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Everybody bring 2 more people next week in the session. Sudash Lishit, the Shabbos, and Shalom Facebook. We'll see you all. Okay.